What's up, Womack Nostalgia? Dave here with a review of Haim's fourth album, I Quit. Haim, the three-piece sister rock band, pop rock band, their first album since 2021. Of course, Haim, though, has been, kind of in the mix since then, around then. Of course, Alana Haim, the youngest Haim sister, a great starring role in Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza. She will be acting again in PTA's One Battle After Another later this summer. Haim had the big feature on Taylor Swift's Evermore song Nobody No Crime, which became a big hit. They've remained around, even though I think musically as a group, it's certainly been quiet since that last album. And this new album is a departure creatively from the band's previous three records because no longer is a chief producer and creative force behind the album present. Of course, Danielle Haim has split from her relationship with producer Ariel Rechtsted, and he had a big influence and role in the previous records. So now the thematic material regarding I Quit is actually about that relationship, and he is no longer contributing to the album. Makes some sense, but a kind of fun meta approach to thinking about the album. And in his place, actually, Rostam was heavily involved on the production side of things with this album, which is pretty cool. Haim's fourth album, I Quit, is a great success for taking a lot of their sounds forward as a group. This is certainly the most diverse sounding album they've ever made. There's a lot of variety here. There's a lot of production choices. Now, does that make for a bit of a scattershot album that's maybe a bit too long? Could have been a little bit more focused in terms of how it sounded, perhaps, but I think a lot of the songs, particularly those in the beginning and end of the track list, are really good. The shining achievement, though, of this new Haim era is clearly the lead single Relationships, which is the most melodic song they've ever made, the catchiest song they've ever made, and to me, the best song they've ever made. I just really love the track. I mean, I found myself going back to it a lot. I think it has just enough sparseness to its production, but moves at such a great clip. I mean, the core hook, the chorus of the song, I think is awesome. I think it's a great, like light pop rock song, one of my favorite songs of the year. Elsewhere on the album, though, I think there's a lot of stuff that grabs your attention. And again, I think that the sonic variety of this album makes it interesting to listen to. And I found this probably the most engaging of all the Haim albums. And now I'm not a massive Haim fan. I'll be curious if people who are more into the group historically, how they feel about this album. But to me, it really held my attention. I enjoyed the song Gone quite a bit. It has this acoustic start with some choir. Then the drums kick in and the guitar gets electric. It has this big outro with like even more layered percussion. Noticeable Freedom 90 George Michael sample at its core. That's a song that really moves and progresses throughout its runtime and is kind of epic, honestly. Really liked it. All Over Me, the second track, also I liked. Great groove, kind of more of like a headbanger as far as Haim tracks go. I think those chords, really grab you, and goes even harder at the end. I quite like that one. Down to Be Wrong, I think those snares grab you right away. Acoustic guitar line, maybe a bit less energetic, after All Over Me and Gone. Following Relationships, we have Down to Be Wrong. Take Me Back, I thought that quick strumming was really nice. Bit of like a different affectation vocally. The horn outro, those saxophones, really nice. I think Love You Right is just okay. The Farm, a bit of a slow burner. This is where I think the album gets a little slow, just doesn't quite grab you as much, this middle section here. Lucky Stars, the guitar shows back up at least. Million Years, you have these more electronic drums than you'd heard to that point, just standing out for being a bit of a different sound. Everybody's Trying to Figure Me Out, though. This is a highlight, kind of brings you back, just like the song's like a total jam. And then Trying to Feel My Pain right after that. Very groovy. Love those keys. Spinning, another groovy one. I think the rhythm between Trying to Feel My Pain and Spinning is great. Cry, I think the drums hit very hard. I love the bass on that. SD really jamming clearly. Blood on the Street, I think the songwriting on this song really stands out. Haim, I think generally you think of them as a songwriting forward group. And if there's anything that holds me back from greater Haim appreciation, it's probably vocals. I think they're more of instrumentation and writing forward group, and then vocally, Danielle and the rest of them are good, but like they don't like knock your socks off necessarily, so they have to really grab you with that writing and then the conception of the production the way they often do. And then the last track, Now It's Time, I think that bass, it was very unique in the way it almost like screeched, the way you heard it, and I quite enjoyed it. So yeah, Haim, I Quit. I like the album. I thought it was impressive and took a lot of chances, and I think with a little more focus, not on necessarily even the sound being focused, but just cutting the fat, trimming the fat a little bit on this album. I think could have been a hair better, but I did quite like it. And again, Relationships looking very likely to make my top 10 songs of 2025. Let me know though, what you think of Haim's fourth album, I Quit? What was your favorite song? And for more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.